I heard a quote the other day that just killed me, and I'm writing a chapter on it right now. It's called "Bring." You know those days where you bring your child to work.
Hmm.
Well, my chapter is about in the creative world and the creative arts. You bring your child every day, and it's in you. And people forget that. People forget. You know, I have four little ones running around the house.
They're not that little anymore.
What?
They're not that little anymore.
Well, they're little compared to me.
Well,
And they are my teachers right now. They're teaching me how to play. They're having so much fun with their lives. And I watched them. Yesterday was, for some reason, Superintendent's Day. And so all four of them were home. And I just watched them. And they don't care about the result. They care about the journey, and they're having fun. Remember fun?
I think so.
Yeah. And I went, yeah, that's what it is. That's the secret. And that is, you said mock Jackson Pollock, you know. I mean, I'm not quite sure he had a smile on his face, nor was he whistling a happy tune. Probably he had a Camel cigarette sticking out the corner of his mouth, and he was totally, in it. It's one of my favorite things when I go to MoMA. I just go up to that room and I'm just blown away by the magnitude and the playfulness and the just unorthodox behavior, and the fact that he sat in front of that or stood in front of that huge mural and said, "I don't give a shit what you think. This is how it goes." And that's what I try to urge people on in the class, getting back to that authentic voice.
Right, and that's what art is, right?
And that's what that's what art is.
Right.
Yeah, it's not all reverential and hushed tones and everything. Right. There has to be joy in art. There has to be play in art. There has to be freedom. There has to be mistakes. There has to be the willingness to destroy before you build. And sometimes it's not to please everybody, you know?
Well, it should never be, really. I mean,
never.
Yeah.
Do you like me? Do you like me? Do you like me? Do you like me?
Yeah.
Which I find is a great, the more I teach, I find is the great barrier, because I find students try to please their teacher, they're trying to please the audience, they're trying to please everybody except themselves.
Yeah. Look, I've done about 2,000 live shows. Been on stage that many times in front of lots of people, and I'm not sure I've had very few moments that I wasn't self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to get to that place of fully there, fully letting loose, fully being in the moment and present.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get over the people are looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
My first year in that band touring was stage fright.
Mm-hmm.
At least a year of just like, oh my God, I have to sing the next song. I'm going to throw up.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. And still, look, I'm going to be going. I have a show in January in Atlanta. I got lots of family flying in for it.
Oh, dear.
And they're going to be impressed because we're impressive. We're not this world's greatest band, but we're a good band, and it's a beautiful theater. We have a big crowd, and we make a unique sound. And it's really good. But I sit up on stage going, just thinking of every bad thing that can happen, and not in trying to constantly get myself back into just being present and in the moment and doing the music. Scary stuff. That's why I never became a great performer, because I'm just not that fearless person. I can't. To me, a great performer is it's honesty, intention, and fearlessness. I think those are the ingredients. And if you can get all three, you're a great performer. And it's not easy to do.
No.
It's really hard, especially the fearlessness.
So, look at
my
this.
goodness.
We're on the air, so
Hello,
please
we're already
join us.
on.
Grace Kelly
hello,
has
Stephen.
just...
Hi,
So
Stephen.
nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you too.
Hi, thank you so much for coming.
Relax.
I just divulged that I'm a little
Pleasure.
nervous meeting you, and I never get nervous. And we were trying to go back and
He
forth.
really
We're on the
is.
air, by the way.
He's totally nervous.
Oh my gosh.
And so, can you do the introduction while I talk?
And I'm going to.
Yeah.
And you can put on these whenever you're comfortable,
Okay,
and you can put that
fabulous.
wherever. We put you in the fancy studio today.
I
Yeah,
love
this is,
it.
isn't it
So-
pretty?
It is fabulous.
Yeah.
Just a
This
lot
is-
of character.
This
lot
is
of
our
character.
theme song.
None of this is functional. This is all to look like this.
Yeah,
That's why we have all those paper clips.
yeah. You want to put that a little louder?
Paper clips are
The music?
important.
Is that not loud enough for you?
I want Grace to hear it.
Well, she's got to put the. Yeah.
Oh, the phone?
Oh, are you gonna? Okay, go ahead. Do your conversation about
What?
our theme music.
What she has to put on her phone?
She's wearing them.
Oh, boy. When do I appear? At what point do I appear in this studio? Start from the beginning, because I want Grace to hear it.
Unfortunately, all right. So this is a theme that I wrote, and then I have a friend who's a brilliant musician, and he went and made a version of it, but he did it in 7, which is fun.
Now, Grace is just starting to rock out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
already.
the head
Yeah.
bob is going.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I like that sound.
It's just a 9-note little melody.
Yeah.
Okay, here you guys talking your inside stuff.
9 notes.
Okay.
It's not that deep.
To start
You can
off,
count it.
I admitted that I'm nervous with Grace because my knowledge of music is well, actually, it's pretty good. It's
Maybe not technically, but you.
no,
you know
I
a lot
love
of
music. But I told you that my son is studying, that my 10-year-old is studying the saxophone.
Yes.
So I played him the video. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Grace Kelly.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Grace Kelly is here, gracing our studio, and I'm so honored.
Racing.
Oh,
our
I'm
studio.
honored. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
This is it's so cool to be here with you, and
Oh.
what an absolute pleasure.
Oh my goodness.
I jumped at the email and the
Oh, great.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're honored to have you here, and I met you at
The Harvey.
Harvey
Yes.
with Kirsten and you. Is it Kirsten?
Yes.
We have a mutual friend, Susan.
Yes.
I mean Kathy.
Kathy,
Schaefer.
Mama Bear. Shout out
Mama
to
Bear,
Kathy.
or we like to call her Saint Catherine.
the Saint Catherine. She's the greatest.
She's the greatest supporter.
Oh, love her to
And
pieces.
the way she talks about you guys is amazing. Amazing. So I played for Hugo, my 10-year-old, who was just studying the saxophone. Your YouTube of walking up Lombard Street.
Oh, cool.
Well, first of all, I'm a native San Francisco. 2, I used to deliver rugs down Lombard Street.
No kidding.
Yeah, I remember that. And when I saw you, I said, "Oh my God, she's going to walk up all the way up Lombard," and you were doing your exercises.
Yes.
And moving literally from one thing to another. First of all, I don't know how you made it physically because I would have been at the Mount Sinai.
Is that the curvy street?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and there's a lot of people that walk.
A lot
that,
of people.
Yeah.
And Grace went up all the way doing all different exercises and mouthings and things like that, not even getting tired once. And I watched him watch that, and he had a smile on his face,
Oh.
and it was totally inspirational. So there are no accidents. I don't believe in accidents, and so it's all come together, and he's so excited.
Oh, I am so glad. How long has he been playing the sax?
About a week.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
it's new.
new doesn't even begin. He's still trying to figure out the mouthings and the
Oh, okay.
yeah. And he came to me and he asked me if there was something that I could Google to show him, and I said, You might tell me if there is, by the way.
I got a lot of resources for you.
I bet. But I wanted to first of all thank you for coming on, and I just wanted to tell you that one of the things that the acting schmacting is about, as I told you on the phone, is those little scaredy cats at home.
Mm-hmm.
I being one of them when I was a kid.
Me too.
Sitting in my little couch. Well, it wasn't that little. A couch and kind of saying, oh my goodness. And it's dedicated to those people for them to get off their ass. And so we try to have people, we've had celebrities, and we've even had Paul
I
Schaefer.
know that episode. That was
Oh,
great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
And
he's the best.
So people will go, I can do that. Or, so the first question I have to ask you is, in all the stuff I've read about you, that you were a prodigy.
Yes.
And that I was telling you, Stephen, you didn't start to play at 12. You had a record at 12.
Yes, that's right.
And what's the name of it?
It was called Dreaming.
So,
because I'm a dreamer.
What's it like to be a prodigy? I mean, what did it feel like to be 12 years old?
Pays well.
Yeah, right. Oh, not even. I think I never thought of myself as a prodigy because
you were a prodigy.
Yeah, I remember the first time that word kind of came around, and it was from a well-known musician who mentioned that. And I was like, wow, it's like quite a compliment to me. I was just doing something that I very much love, got to discover from a young age, and I was just so obsessed with the learning the instruments, getting better, writing, expressing myself, and lucky to find it early on.
But what was the click? What was the moment? I mean, I know my moment. I know when I went, oh, that's what I want to do. Do you remember your moment, your click on?
I do. Oh, that's a great phrase, click on. My click on was I was having my first performance as a band leader.
How old?
I was 12. It was for my record release, and
Jeez.
we had it was at a local church in my hometown, and we invited my parents and I had invited friends and family. Thought maybe like 30 people would come, if that. And the day of the performance, our local newspaper, actually the Boston Globe, not even the local one.
Is that where you're from?
I'm from Boston. Yeah, they did a 2-page whole spread on it, and the hall that night was sold out with 200 people.
Wow.
And I was so like I didn't even know if I could get on stage. They said my name, Grace Kelly, and this is the first time I was playing my music live with this incredible band that had recorded on my record. They were professors at the Berklee College of Music. My bass player had recorded with Stan Getz, Dizzy Gillespie. I had to introduce their names, and I put together this very special performance of tap dancing and playing the saxophone on one number, since I was also tap dancing and studying that, and that was my debut in front of people, and so I was so nervous. But I will say my click-on moment was at some point within that performance, after my nerves had calmed down, I looked around and I was like, wow, this is an incredible, this is it. This feels so good. And then the thought occurred to me, I could do this, in front of people and have these feelings and share these moments.
You remember what the feeling was like?
It was just, I think it was very much just this exhilaration of maybe, at the end of the song, everyone clapping, or just a moment where we all felt so connected and thinking, wow, this could be my job, if I'd be so lucky to continue doing.
And this was saxophone at 12?
I was singing, playing sax. It was my original music and tap dancing.
And the style of music?
It was jazz and actually some singer-songwriter bits, because I've always been writing singer-songwriter songs. I wrote my first song.
So even then you're playing with genres?
Yeah, actually
Wow.
my first introduction into music was singing. My parents said that I was singing at the same time I was talking. It was like breathing. And I wrote my first song at the age of 7.
So sorry. Yeah.
I sat down at the piano. I knew 3 chords, and I wrote a country song. And the lyrics made no sense, but it just came out of me. And my dad has this really precious footage of me as a 7-year-old explaining to them how to write a song. And I'm like, just gotta, it's actually up on YouTube. It's hysterical. I'm like, you just gotta feel it and let it flow out, talking like I've been.
I know. I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember it putting into oddly more neurotic terms, not oddly at all, but thinking I'm safe.
Oh my gosh.
There was great safety to it. I went, I'm more safe up here in front of those people than I feel in my daily life or at school or whatever. And I went, well, that's odd, and felt totally free and protected.
Wow.
It was weird.
That is
weird. It's very powerful.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't a prodigy, nor did I have a record, nor a resume or anything like that. I was 11, but I know I was 11, and we lived across the street from a theater. Stan Getz.
Yes.
What kind of influence?
Oh, he's the reason I play saxophone. My parents, who have great taste in music, they're not musicians, but they would play great music, including lots of Stan Getz and,
But they were classicists, right?
Well, my mom's side of the family, has a lot of classical musicians. So it'd be Debussy playing. There would be, Broadway soundtracks. There would be, they took me to see Les Miserables when I was really, really little. Actually, tons of Broadway shows from the age of 6. I was a total Broadway buff.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, that was my dream, actually, to be on Broadway, which I hope to do one day. But that was before the jazz bug. And they would have Girl from Ipanema on repeat and all the, Astrid Gilberto and Joe Beam. And
was there something about his sound or something about his flair or something about his tone that inspired you?
100%. Stan Getz has always sounded like the human voice to me when he played. And that's why
I remember you saying that, yes.
I put this connection together of, the saxophone is like singing. And I still feel like that. Like sometimes people say to me, wow, it really sounds like you're singing through the sax. And then they'll say, wow, it really sounds like you're playing sax when you sing. And I'm like, well, it's all the same thing in my head.
Yeah. And when you play, again, I'm in your guys' territory, but when you play, do you get the sense that, do you lose yourself in the music in that way, in terms that you are singing and communicating both ways?
Yes. At this point, and it wasn't always like this, because when you first learn an instrument, I'll just talk in my terms, I'm bogged down with the technical aspect, or like your son, there's literally muscles you have to develop in your lips to hold the saxophone. But after you get to that point where it's like, I'm not thinking about scales, it's all internalized, then it's really an act of expressing, and it's an act of being in the moment, and it's an act of, can I get what's in my heart and my head out? And it's almost this simultaneous connection and feeling.
Yeah.
Do you have similar? I'm curious how that translates into the acting world.
There is a thing that you express very, very well, where there is it's an immersion, it's a connection. You feel more like yourself than you do ever. It's all those things. What the image that just came into my head while you asked that question was,
what?
When I saw you that night is, and for those of you who are listening, is when Grace performs, she is literally Springsteen. She's all over that. She is all over that thing. So there's also kinetic movement as well, because you don't stay in one place. I understand walking up Lombard Street in San Francisco, but when she performs, she's all over the stage. And she dances.
I love to dance.
And she's totally immersive. So you have to be pretty dead inside of spirit and intelligence not to appreciate. I can't say enough about your verve, which I told to.
Oh my gosh.
I told to our Saint Kathy.
Kathy. Thank you. That means so much.
Oh, and anything you want to ask?
I have 2 questions.
To me?
No.
Oh, damn.
Did you start with a saxophone, and did you go to conservatory?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
But
it's
she
a
did
great
go to
question.
conservatory.
I did. As far as instruments, I started with the piano. So when I was the age of 6.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, my mom,
I was going to guess that.
big arts lover, and she said it was really important to her that both me and my sister could just know foundational music theory and be able to sit down at the piano. She'd often say, just to be able to accompany yourself on a happy birthday or, a Christmas song. And so she wanted us to get started with music training early on. So I did end up going to the New England Conservatory Prep School and then later to Berklee College of Music.
Oh, you went to Berkeley.
I have a question
Yeah.
that was what we were talking about a moment ago. So you were mentioning this, we were talking about the feelings of being in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So something that is in my world as a musician, and specifically when I'm playing jazz, I'm really a one take or maybe 2 take girl in the recording studio. And I know different musical artists, sometimes it's the 38th take, but I am so tired at that point. It's like if I'm working with producers and there's more than 8 takes, you're not gonna get anything fresh. But I'm always interested to know how, in your world, how can you keep that excitement, when you're on set and take after take and put yourself in the right mindset?
Good question. I've actually changed. I used to like a lot of takes because, I was one that I'd like to take just send the editor everything.
Uh-huh.
And because I do believe that when you're a saxophonist or a pianist or an actor, you bring the day, and the day has a lot of colors. And I used to be so, I would get up in the morning, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I would put myself in a plastic bag so no one would have any input. And I realized that was a bunch of hooey, that you bring the day. You bring what's happening that day, the joy or the not joy, and you bring that on the set. And also, while you're performing, your life changes. But you know what?
Stop there. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Some gold right there.
That's a nugget right there. What do you mean your
We're
life
both
changes?
like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Your life changes because you realize more about what you're saying, and accidents happen. Wonderful. I mean, our guest today loves accidents, and goes with them, and you have to learn that you can make mistakes and learn, rather than I made a mistake and stop. So you bring the day. But I have to be very honest with you, as I'm getting older. As I'm getting older, I like less takes. And now I find it on the first or the second. And plus, in the business now, you can't do 20 takes. And justice for all, because Mr. Pacino at that time liked a lot of takes. And then Mr. Hopkins didn't like a lot of takes. He liked her like 5. And he would, and me, I kept, just wanting to get more food from the craft services.
What's your go-to from the craft services? Is there like one snack that just does it?
The breakfast burrito.
Oh my gosh. With avocado. Do you like avocado?
Oh! Oh!
Don't start them on food.
Oh!
Are we
Off the
kindred
rails.
avocado?
Do you like, because we did a pretty extensive, do you like bagel and lox?
Oh yeah.
What kind of bagel do you like?
The everything bagel.
You see?
I didn't say I didn't like it. I said it doesn't like me.
Oh.
And do you like Nova Scotia or Lox?
Ooh.
So where do you live in the city?
I do, yeah.
Where do you live?
Well, actually,
Roughly. Don't give away
Long,
your address.
Long Island City.
Oh, you're in Long Island City.
Queens, yeah.
One of them.
Couple
So you
stops
take her on
away
the
from
L
Midtown.
all the time? Is it
Oh, the L that doesn't work.
It's
it the L?
the E7GM,
The G.
the G, down to Williamsburg.
Well, I know the 7.
The G doesn't come into Manhattan.
No.
G's
That's
just
the-
Queens to Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
We were just talking. I was up at Zabar's recently.
Zabar's. Is that like a amazing breakfast spot? I've definitely heard
it's
of
a
it.
very famous old Jewish. Wow, how would you describe the place? It's a supermarket, but it's a
I
place.
think after
to
Jewish,
get,
you pretty much hit it.
it's where you get. It's really well known for their smoked fish and things like that. You ever been to Russ and
But now it's more
Daughters?
like a
Yes.
museum.
It's like that. But it's, still, it's bigger
It's
than
a
Russ and
big
Daughters.
deal now. People go in just to look at the food.
I was there for 20 minutes and it was like $500. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy what
Did
you
you
can
hear
spend
that
there.
they closed Barney Greengrass?
No,
Yeah. They had to shut it down because of little verminesques.
really.
Ooh,
Ugh.
big. Oop.
Yeah, that's like an institution. I
Haven't
used to
been
go to
there
Barney
in,
Greengrass.
15 years. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
we didn't get off subject too much.
But it's all the same.
I took us there, right?
Food, music, acting.
Oh,
it's all the
I'm-
same.
The senses, sensory
But I-
stuff.
Absolutely.
But getting back to, I can understand why you, Grace,
Mm-hmm.
so listeners know who I'm talking to, would not want to take a lot of takes in what you're doing. That's exhausting. And plus, a take is not a line.
Right.
It can be long,
Yeah.
and it's and you're coming up with ideas on the spot, and so you run out of those. Not run out of those ideas, but you tire of those ideas over and over. The same, trying to come up with something better. I mean, it's one thing if you make what you think might be a mistake or something like that, but just to I can
Yeah.
understand. But for an actor, I can understand wanting to try a different emotion or
Right.
get something different out of it, especially, you know, maybe not of a giant monologue, but is everyone asleep now?
I actually had, I think I had a nerve damage. We are old friends. Can you talk to me
The
a
old
little
part.
bit about Lee Konitz and how he, did I pronounce that right?
Lee Conant's, yeah.
And how he played such an instrument. I mean, you in every interview you do, you talk about him and honor him. And
Yes.
what did he give you? What did he inspire in you?
Well, he's one of the absolute jazz greats, and on my instrument, the alto saxophone, someone I look up to tremendously. He was in Miles Davis's original No Net in that album Birth of the Cool, and he really created his own style and sound coming out of Lenny Tristano's school. I think one of the greatest gifts he gave me that goes right along that line is the art of spontaneity. And he is a big reason, and studying with him is a big reason of why I'm a first take and second take girl. Because, you know, I learned to just love the moment of dropping into a duet and not knowing what was coming next. He'd say to me, no keys, no song, let's just go. And we just
It's
and we just improv. And it's like, and then we'd find an ending, and that was it. It wasn't like, all right, let's do another take. It's like, oh, no, that's it. And he's really a one taker. So, you know, to also the other thing he taught me that is within my musical DNA at this point is the importance of reacting to others on stage and the musicality and how that comes first. It's not about playing the riff. It's not, you know, I'm not really a we call it a lick player, you know, where you have this preconceived idea of like, this is the line, or, you know.
And this is where I'm going.
And this is where I'm going, and I have to execute like I'm going to do this, you know, in sports analogy, like, I don't know, doing a specific shot.
Yeah.
Instead, it was bring the moment
Yeah.
and bring the feelings that come with it. And, hey, if the pianist plays this chord, how do you react to this chord? And so suddenly I'm walking on stage with 360 you know, degrees. My ears are wide open, and it's an incredible place to perform from.
Yeah. I find that I tell my students, you have no idea how much more powerful I don't know is over I know.
Ugh.
And to know where you're going, you just start aiming, and it's not as authentic as I don't know where I'm going, and I'm free, and
It's coming from nothing, right?
huh?
It's coming from nothing.
Yeah, and you don't have to aim, and you know it's not about results. It's about the voyage, and it's about learning, and it's about talking, and it's about what's going on with you at that moment. You know, and I even noticed that on Lombard Street. I mean, just how you moved from just exercise to exercise to exercise, and sometimes you would interchange with people, and I just went, wow. I mean, it just was so fluid, and to talk actors actors out of that is very hard. We were just, Teresa and I, my assistant, we're talking about this morning that people get set of where they're going. And then I think after a while that gets very, it gets dangerous. You can burn out and, you know. The thing about Grace is that she goes from genre to genre. She's pop, she's folk, she's classical, she's fun, she's jazz, but you're not straight jazz. You're just you're all over the place.
We were just talking about that and how. So I'm a musician.
Yes, right? I love that you have the.
And he carries it around everywhere.
Really?
No.
Yeah, Starbucks.
It's like.
Have you seen these things, by the way?
I have. Yeah, this is the DMX, or wait, what's it called?
This one's the
Yamaha.
CE. This one's like Rhodes Wurlitzer or CP70.
Yeah.
It
Very
plays.
cool.
These things are really well made. It looks like a toy. It's not.
Yeah.
But you just got to use the
We
small
had
keys.
Paul on that thing.
Paul was playing it. Yeah.
Love it.
And I'm an improvisational player as well.
Yeah.
I played in a rock band for a long time, and I completely forgot where this is going. Oh, we're talking about playing different styles, and I feel like my own opinions on music and ideas, musical ideas, that there's a lot of people who feel that we may have reached our limit of musical ideas.
Yeah.
You know, how every 125 years something else would come out, whether it was classical, impressionistic, until pretty much jazz. And it seems that we haven't had a new idea. Lots of styles.
Mm-hmm.
And that the new thing now is the melding of everything.
Yeah, you take hip hop and country and you put them together, and with the way that people digest music with streaming now, it's like you don't really need those boxes of genres. It's
Right.
just like, I like this song. Oh, I like how it all comes together.
It comes at you so, from every angle, music these days. And it has for most of my life, but more so now, where, when I used to teach like just general music classes to middle school kids, I used to talk about how, because it's one thing to talk about Beethoven, but like, what the hell does that mean? What do I know about Beethoven? Is this old guy who made music I didn't like? Why would you talk about that, Mr. Fink? So I would say, you have to realize that you would go days in your life never hearing music back then, unless someone was playing an instrument near you, unless you were playing it. And then so to go and hear a symphony was probably mind-blowing, to hear all of this music in one place for the first time, all of these new sounds, all of these new instruments. It must have just been mind-blowing to hear that kind of stuff. And people can't get that now because you hear it on a commercial.
Right. We're like kind of inundated by our senses between the screens and our ears and everything going on, people on their phones. It's like
Commercials.
there's so, but that's, yeah.
Yeah.
As you were talking about the wonder and the magic, I was like there being like, wow, oh my God, that sound, that instrument, how are they doing that? And that's.
And that's sometimes it was a new instrument that brought on the new idea.
Yes.
These new sounds.
So what do we tell this guy
Which guy?
and gal in the couch who's saying, I'm afraid to move. I have this piece of music in my desk.
Well,
I don't know what to do, and I'm too scared, and I'm waiting for the magic call, because we're sitting with Grace Kelly, who doesn't pay attention to any of those rules.
let me.
Her public relations thing that she's doing on her own is formidable. It should be studied.
Oh, my
We
gosh.
should study it.
It's great, but I'm
actually.
curious. So let me lead up to that answer with, what is your playing regimen these days? What is your daily musician life?
That's a really good question. Well, it varies.
Well, you're on tour now, right?
I just came back from a California tour, and then kind of always on tour. Yeah, I went off to Massachusetts, then I'm back, then I have another show, then I'm in Taos, New Mexico, here, there, and everywhere. My routine definitely changes depending on what's coming up. So if there's like a big recording session or a show that I really have to like practice certain music, I'm just going through that music. If I have more of an open period, like right now, I'm actually home for a few weeks, I can dip into an actual writing regiment, where I'm literally waking up in the mornings, I'm journaling, I'm sitting at my music studio and just coming up with stuff. I'm listening to a lot of new music. I'm creating reference tracks. And then there's also the technical practice of my instrument, which is doing a lot of scale stuff, just keeping the maintenance
How
up.
many hours a day do you do that?
You know, I like to say it's actually just completely on and off through the day, because I've never been a marathon practicer, so I'm not one to say I'm going to set the clock for 2 hours. What I'll do is actually I'll sit down, I'll play 30 minutes, I'll take a little break, I'll come back, I'll play another, hour, maybe do even a live stream while I'm jamming. Then I'll take a break, then I'll write for like 2 hours, then
Wow.
I'll take a break, do some emails, catch up with people, do some whatever,
Do a podcast.
do podcast, and then like last night I was filming until 1 a.m. just doing new music video, dance video, creating. I probably spent the last 6 hours making the track, and then sent it over to my friend to mix it, and we were going back and forth with notes on that, and then doing all the research of what we wanted the video to look like, and then doing all the lighting, and it's fun. It's like it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And I also had to line up 5 different outfits for it, and all my makeup and my hair, and that's also creative. I think
Oh,
it's really.
absolutely.
I have a really
Absolutely.
fun time doing that.
We have a thing on this show that we've asked Paul, we've asked David Mamet, we've asked everybody, I found that everybody has a story. They have a story that promotes them, and they have a story that keeps them from the prize being themselves. For instance, one of my stories is my dad used to always say, if you don't worry about it, it's worthless. And the thing is that when you're playing the sax, or when you're playing the piano, or indeed when I'm doing whatever I do, it's easy when you're in the moment. Maybe not before, maybe not after, but in the moment it's easy. And but my dad's teaching me that story, and me agreeing to it. I especially at the beginning of my career, worried. In other words, and I've said it on this program, I ruined my first film with Mr. Pacino. That I actually can't watch it, because every day I just tortured myself with worry, and yet doing the part was easy, but I had to make it hard. Did you have a story that you had to conquer? Or do you have a story that you every once in a while you have to? You don't have to. We'll edit it. Don't worry about it. We got your back.
Oh, this is fantastic. And I'm wondering actually at some point if it's okay if I set up my camera. You can tell it's no worry if it's
Wait a
I
minute.
put, I put on my nicest.
Yeah.
just for some future
change.
social media clips and once it's out.
Get
know?
this.
You can
get
do
it
whatever you
out.
want.
Okay. Well, let me just set it up then. It's gonna be
Okay.
easy.
Should we break?
Oh, I mean, you gulet can.
Just keep it rolling. You never know what happens.
I just love where that question so much, and let me just place this.
I think we're about to go viral.
What does
Or-
that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
It's where you get like a really bad cough.
Teresa, can you give a hand?
What does that mean? He doesn't know what going viral means? It means that it gets picked up and spread.
What's
Well,
ugly
don't
in
we
the
want that?
background
You
here?
know it's a good thing.
Besides Steven.
You heard it as a bad thing.
I
All
I have
right.
to take off this hat because they're going to think I'm insane.
Well, they've already been listening to the podcast, so I think they're
Okay.
they're there
I'll
already.
take off my hat.
we
Except
all in?
our little broom closet is so cold.
First of all,
We should get another
Get the
studio.
dirty dishes in the background.
we can't afford it.
Oh, that's right.
This is the one that we can. This is why we're sponsored.
Should we say hello?
Good character.
Hi.
Hi.
I can't see.
It's just a
There we
regular
go.
video. It's not a live stream or anything. But this is, wow, what a great question. And
That's what the show's about.
yeah, I have to say that what you just said really resonates with me a lot, because I've thought for a while, and I think my concepts and my inner being are now shifting in a way that I really can enjoy. But I've thought for a while, this has to be hard. Or,
Exactly.
but I have to make it hard.
Exactly.
And I have to go through all of this, like trudge all this stuff. And then I look out there and it's like the audience is having a great time and the moment feels great. But there I am like beating myself up.
When? Before, during, or after?
A lot of times before up to the second before,
Really?
Yeah, even if it's like if I'm about to special guest with someone and I'm running through all these. I used to do this a lot, when I would get these incredible opportunities to sit in with whether it was Wynton Marsalis or Harry Connick Jr. And I was a worrywart. I didn't know what we were going to play or how it was going to go down. I mean, Harry Connick Jr., he saw me at a workshop. I was 16 years old. He was in town to play this big show. My teacher told me that he was going to come to do this really small gathering for like 20 of us. And he had a connection with Harry, so that's why he was doing it. And he said, Grace, get up and play for him. And so I did. And afterwards, Harry came to each of us and he shook our hand. And then he pulled me in. He said, come sit in with me in the band tonight. See you there, 8 p.m. And I was like, and then he left. And I was like, oh my God. But literally up to the minute before I joined him on stage, I didn't know what we were going to play. And I was going through all these scenarios in my head being like, oh my, just worrying. But I think I would have enjoyed it 2,000 times more if I just was, let that worry just.
Because you're good enough to just get up and play with just about anybody, right?
Yeah, I got,
you've been gifted with the perfect pitch?
Actually not. I have
No.
close relative pitch, I think, at this
Yeah.
point. But, on my instrument, and especially when we're all coming from a jazz background, I mean, I know that Harry Connick Jr., he could drop into anything, and we have a jazz vocabulary and a language. But, yeah, it's at everything except the music at that point that I think I was so worried about.
Yeah, I totally relate. I totally understand. Worth is worry. Worry is worth. And if I could talk to any young actor out of that, I mean, if worry gets you to, let's say, practice a little more, you go over and you get your saxophone and you do your exercises. That's fine. But to just worry out of some duty will keep you in that scaredy couch for the rest of your life. Go ahead.
Well, it's just sort of about that whole. Is it that you didn't earn it if you didn't suffer?
That might be, I think that might be a deep-seated.
Or that I've always had this issue with the phrase hard work because it means so many different things. Are we digging ditches? No. People work harder than us. What does hard work mean? Does it mean you put in a lot of time? Does it mean you sweat? Does it mean, And so it's a really, I think it's a phrase that's often used as a weapon. Oh, you got to work hard. What does that mean?
Actually unpacking.
You got to work smart.
Unpacking what that means.
So, my success is this company that has this beautiful studio. And it's a children's education summer camp company, and it's been 18, 19 years I've been doing it. And I would certainly say that I worked hard, but every day? Did I take days off? Sure. And did I feel like crap about it? Sure. But at the same time, the result was there. Maybe I shouldn't beat myself up so much. Maybe I should take care of myself a little bit. Maybe I should take days off. Maybe, so that whole hard work thing just really is not helpful.
Yeah.
You just put it on yourself as if it's some thing that you're supposed to do, and if you don't feel like you're doing it, then you're doing something wrong.
And if the eyes get on you, for instance, anonymity is one sort of way. But when the eyes get on you and they say, "Oh, Grace, you were really talented," and so, wait, we got to hear Grace. You got to hear this. Something starts to happen.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, you do a scene and you go, "Hello, mail," and they go, "Cut, print," and they start paying you in $1,000 bills. You go, what's going on? I don't deserve that for going mail. And that was a big problem at the beginning of my career. So worry is a big thing, and that will keep you in your scaredy place. So, what's the story that you tell yourself that overcomes that?
So in these situations, I'd like to take myself out of it and start to think about what experience I'm giving, not giving, sharing and sharing and connecting with my audience. Because as soon as I focus on that, like, what's the feeling everyone's gonna, when they come into this theater tonight and, you know, they've just had great time with their family and they had dinner and now they're gonna see the show and they're gonna be they're gonna have this experience. They're gonna sing words with me and look at each other and smile and maybe have emotions that they haven't had in a long time. Then I'm suddenly out of my head, and I'm realizing that, you know, I really think about music as this healing. I think music is incredibly powerful. It's a healing tool. It brings people together. It's
live music in particular.
Live music. And also, like, I think about what songs mean to people too. Like, right, oh my God, I just found out one of my songs feels like home. I've got a few messages from people I've never met saying they got engaged with the song playing. It was their first dance song. They found it on YouTube. And I'm like, to be a part, that is like one of the most intimate moments of a couple's life, and they'll forever have this feeling when they listen to the song. Similarly, like when we watch movies or TV, or we feel like we resonate so much with that character or that song. I mean, that to me brings me out of any type of worry or scaredy place, because I'm like, this is a calling. This is helping people. This is helping me have that connection with people. And like, I feel incredibly honored when at the end of shows or I meet fans, people come up to me and they give me this hug and they suddenly start to tell me, like, in really incredible, sometimes very intimate things about what they're going through in life or their story. And it's like, we've never met before. And for them to be able to share that. And
but you did meet, and you met on an unconscious connecting level, you know, not to sound like a boor and a schnorrer, but W.H. Auden, is it W.H. Auden? Says, no, it's E.M. Forster at the end of Howard's End, and he says, connect, only connect. And I always found, we all grow up with religions and we all grow up with things, and we were talking about Reform Judaism. But the thing is that to me, in art, in your playing, and what we do, that's the higher power.
Well, did you know, and you can Google this, that when you have a seated audience, Broadway show, whatever it is, that at some point, everybody's heartbeat is beating at the same time.
No.
What?
Look it up.
Who told you that?
Look it up.
Well, how'd they know?
That would be hard to figure out, right? You just put on sensors on everybody and take the data. That your audience actually becomes one thing.
Well, you know, there's also that that magic moment when you go to the theater where the lights go down and there's that silence. Yeah. And I always am moved when that happens because it's almost like, we're going to now talk.
Right.
You know, and I love that moment. It's a moment of real hope and grace, and it can't be duplicated except in live.
It's kind of a clean slate too, right? It's just starting. Yeah. It's a starting point. It's a place starting from nothing. You're starting from darkness. Yeah.
Do you want to play for us?
Sure. Yeah. Let me get this.
Is that rude to ask?
Yes.
I mean,
do we need a tip jar?
It's not. It's a delight for.
Oh my God! You brought toys.
I did. Where?
I see something in that bag.
Oh, that's my shiny purse.
Would you play for us? And do you want to play for? Now wait a minute. Oh, good. I want to see this.
Oh, yeah, you could. If
This
might
is what I
be-
see
So
upstairs
the,
in his.
the word for the mouth formation is embouchure.
Okay.
If you want to be telling, which one is it?
Oh, and
Hugo?
I heard in one of your interviews that just the intricacy of like the reeds and the selection
And the lipstick.
and
oh, this is from last night's shoot. It's not usually like that. That's very
what a
red.
beautiful- That's an alto?
This is an alto. I'm a Yamaha artist, and this is a beautiful.
What does that mean? You're a Yamaha artist.
So the Yamaha instruments, which Stephen has one.
I'm a big fan.
It just means
Wish
that
I were a Yamaha artist.
Well, your motorcycle.
Oh, there you go. I have a different department,
I
but
don't have a.
You don't have a motorcycle?
oh,
What do you think? How do you think I get here?
Scooter?
The bus, like everybody else.
I said to Yamaha once, I'm like, so if I'm, do you guys, do your musical artists also endorse the motorcycles?
Yeah, it's a whole different division.
There's so many. There's like, do
It's
they
a
have
huge
grills and
company.
stuff too? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't grill. I
I don't
live in
know.
a small
I
apartment.
don't know either.
I come to your house and grill.
Grill? You mean like shrimp?
I think that's what that means. Yeah.
I'm so lost. I mean, they
I
have
think we went
grilling
around
material.
this. They might.
Yamaha makes a lot of
They
things.
make a lot of things. Yeah.
Don't they make riding mowers? And,
Only I would go out on a grilling tour, and people would say,
well, we
"This
need
is not interesting."
we need a bad cooking show.
Oh, I could
oh
bring that.
my
Yeah.
gosh, that would be. That would.
Now,
be
do you need to stand, sit?
I think I'm okay, but let's just make sure the mic. I can just kind of point it here.
so
Just
interesting.
make
You
sure
can
it
move
doesn't-
wherever you want in
doesn't
this. It's a
distort.
pretty spacious place, so feel free.
Am I
to-
being rude asking you to play?
No.
Okay. What are you going to say? No.
What should I play? I mean, I could.
There was a song that you played. It was a Beatles song that I really, I don't know what it was. Forget it.
Here, there, and everywhere.
No.
Wait.
I want you to play something from your latest
that's-
oeuvre,
Oh, the album. Yeah.
if you would.
Let's see. So I don't have a band, but I feel like I could do. I'm slowly releasing these videos from my latest album on YouTube, and one that just came. The one that is out is a great Louis Jordan song called "Is You Is or Is You Ain't My Baby."
Oh, I
So-
know that song.
Yeah, I love that one. So I could just try to like play and sing it at the same time.
You're modest too, aren't you?
I don't
If
know
I
how it's
had
gonna
your
turn
talent, I
out.
would not be modest. But you're modest. How'd you get that?
Oh, I don't know. I just feel like there's.
There's probably times she wasn't.
Yeah.
She worked-
I feel like I'm just
Let me
learning all
introduce you,
this stuff.
ladies and gentlemen,
I keep forgetting where I'm over here.
Grace Kelly.
Okay. I got a man who's always late every time we have a date, but I love him. Yes, I love him. Gonna walk up to his gate and see if I can get it straight, 'cause I want him. Ooh, and I've got to have him. Is you and my baby. The way you're acting lately makes me doubt. Is you and my baby. It seems the flame in your heart has gone out. Just a little taste.
Wow.
I don't know how long it should go on for, but
Oh, just the rest of my life would be fine.
We need to fill an hour. So
Oh my God! What a thing! I had so many responses to what you were doing. I was just blown away. You have a wonderful voice, by the way.
oh, thank you.
Did you incorporate that at first when you were a prodigy?
Singing actually has been it was my first connection to music. It was just like, my parents were always telling me as soon as I could talk, I was singing. So it was just, it was my first connection into expressing. And so, yeah, like I was, I feel like playing is singing and singing is playing.
Now you teach as well, right?
I do, yeah.
How's that?
It is a beautiful experience. I have Skype students all around the world.
Oh my God.
So I set up in my music studio, and I have like really talented 14, 16-year-old, and then like all ages, all levels, literally like a student in Switzerland who, loves music and doesn't do it professionally, but is getting better at the sax. And it's a beautiful...
How do they get a hold of you?
A lot of times I get emails through my website, and I have an online store, and people can literally just shop, Skype lessons, and then, or I get messages on Instagram or Facebook. And actually I do a lot of live streaming too, and I'll try to give a bunch of music tips and sax tips when the questions come in real time. But in order to fully dive in with somebody, they'll book a session so I can really see where someone's at.
What's a good teacher? What's a bad teacher?
Ooh, that's a great question. A good teacher is somebody who can really take the student from where they're at without any agenda of where they want them to be, but really analyze where are you in your skill set, and how can I take you one step,
Agreed.
and give you these exercises. And then also, how can I have you create the revelation for yourself too? Like outline these things, and then you tell me what that means in your improvisation, or you connect the dots, and then I just help guide, in that.
And how do you get people out of their comfort zone?
Well, that's. I think it is important to bring certain assignments that are going to, whether it's on a technical level, literally push the tempo, and then give parameters within that. Like I'll say to one of my students, he's needs to work on his technique, and he's doing great, and I'll be like, all right, where's breaking point? Okay, you can't play eighth notes at 110 BPM, so work up to that on a technical level. I think there's so many aspects of in live performance, getting out of your comfort zone, that come with like literally being on the stage. And so I say, go to your local jam session. If you've been afraid to get out and play that blues, that's exactly what I need you to go do this Tuesday night.
Exactly.
And just do it.
And some students are resistant to that, and yet they're taking a class, and they don't want to do that, and so it becomes I find the thing that I keep telling students is, stop trying to please your teacher. Find yourself. Find your authentic voice.
Yeah.
And sometimes I push, and sometimes I push a little too hard. But to move somebody out of that comfort zone, they have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you have to be uncomfortable to drop something, to pick something up. And it's not for the timid. But I also find that so many students try to please their teachers, and they remain in classes that are just keep them static.
Yeah.
And it sounds like your teachers just said, move it. I mean, I love that Mr. Conant said, okay, no rehearsal, let's go.
Yeah, and it's just like, wow, what does that mean?
Right.
Whatever, don't think, just play.
Don't think, just play.
React, go.
I had a student the other night who, a really, really nice guy, but he started to do his monologue, and I started to interrupt him. He went, no. And I went, what? And he went, no. What I would like you to do is, I want to do my monologue, and then I want notes. And I went, you're teaching me how to teach.
He was doing his own class.
He was doing his own class. Terribly nice guy. We took a couple of tries at that, and then last night he was on. Teresa's laughing. Last night I had him literally on the floor. I put him on the floor, and I had two people pulling his upper body and two people pulling his, so I could literally throw him.
And you told him to sing.
And I told him to sing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, talk about getting out of the comfort zone.
And
Wow.
I thought he was going to explode. He was like, at a certain point, I said, wow, I don't. But then he came all the way around after it's almost like he took something and he put it on the floor and said, okay, here we go. I have no defenses. My teacher's crazy.
Wow.
And then he came around and did this gorgeous monologue, because without authenticity, you got nothing. And they'll pick you off in a second. They'll pick you off. And when I was just listening to you, you're so authentic. I think that's why I was a little nervous interviewing you today, because I went, I don't know why I was nervous. I'm totally comfortable now, but I mean, because first of all, I'm not a musician. Second of all, I was afraid I was going to ask stupid questions. But I'm just, you are you're an inspiration, and I wanted to treat you well.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah.
I'm so honored and flattered, because the feeling is so mutual.
Oh, thanks.
And that when I see you on the screen, and it's like, wow, authenticity, and I'm feeling the words, and I love this interaction of, I love talking to when different art forms come together, acting or musicians, and because there's always a connection, writers, even in the technology startup worlds, there's creativity there. There's a lot of things to talk about. I loved your story about your student. It jogged this thought in my mind of getting out of the comfort zone with singing has been something that I've experienced. I had some past vocal teachers who, I think the authentic part about singing is anybody can sing the words, right? And you can even practice to do vocal runs, just like scale stuff. That's very technical. Anyone can learn to do that. But to really sing the heart of the word, or to put your experience. I had one teacher once who said, write down all the lyrics of the song, and then I want you to write down like your story that matches the lyrics of the song, and go line by line. And suddenly you're like writing a diary. I'm writing a diary entry to myself about, wow, I have, these feelings that I hadn't even looked at, and now I'm on stage singing in front of people. And I've had moments where, I was singing something and nearly crying, and it's like, but the amazing thing that happens is the audience too. It's like suddenly I hear sniffles and people are crying, and I've been to shows as a listener where if someone can bear their soul and their heart that much on stage, and it's like live, and I feel that, and so going there can be a very deep, emotional, scary thing. But what you just said about being authentic is the greatest compliment to me, because I just feel like I want people to feel that it's real,
And I can't imagine seeing you with one iota or ounce of worry. You seem like one of the more confident artists I've ever seen. But I guess when you're throwing the paint at the canvas, what's to worry about? You just got to keep throwing the paint at the canvas, right?
And speaking on, those folks who are afraid of getting up and doing, I think it's exactly that. You just got to throw the paint at the canvas. I was re-listening to this great interview recently from Seth Godin, and it was on the Tim Ferriss show, and Tim's got this great podcast for entrepreneurs, and he was saying to Seth, what's your process for writing and what pencil do you use and blah, blah, blah. And Seth's like, that doesn't matter. You know, if you can't write, you just write. And then you write some more. He's like, everyone wants to know what pencil Stephen King uses, and they want to go and they want to buy that same exact pencil and they want to sharpen it 15 times. You know, he didn't say that.
I know that one of your learning academies was, and I don't know if everybody knows this. I don't know if you know this, but you were on the Seth Meyers, was it?
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
We'll cut it. So you were on the.
Why are we cutting it?
I'm so with Stephen Colbert, with whom I'm a huge fan, and what is it? Jean Baptiste.
Jean Baptiste, yes.
Yeah, and you were there for what, 6 months?
Yes, in the first year.
What was that like?
Wait, you were in the
I was
She
in the house band.
Really?
Yeah.
She was supposed to come on for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
and she stayed forever.
It was the greatest experience
What did you
ever.
learn?
Oh my gosh, I learned so much about, you know, I'd never been in an experience where every day I was in a television studio and, you know, I had wearing these in-ear monitors where John Batiste would be saying, we're going to work on this cue. And then Stephen Colbert is coming around being like, we need you guys to do this. There were so many balls to juggle, even just being in the band. And sometimes we would only rehearse for 30 minutes and then we would literally be recording. And John would teach us all everything by ear. So we didn't even write it down. And I'd basically have, 30 minutes while getting hair and makeup done to try to internalize it, which is not my usual way. Usually I like to sleep on things and then I might have the melody by ear.
Wow.
Because I really like to internalize it and sing it, but there wasn't enough time for that. So it was kind of just my memory got like a lot better.
I bet.
And I just learned a lot about
I have a
the
feeling that he
production.
didn't suffer fools, this Jean Baptiste.
Oh, he knows.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He's a brilliant artist. He also has an incredible talent for bringing together musicians and creating a family of musicians that, in the case of not having written music and literally just saying to all of us, you play this, you play that, it could be a complete disaster. It could be, right? Like, and then you're about to go on TV in front of 500 people in the audience. But his art of improvisation and spontaneity and also lining up the musicians that we can all come together and like this incredible thing will happen in the moment. He knows how to do that. And he will just, there were moments on the Late Show where he would just point at me and goes solo, and he'd
On the
say,
moment?
yeah, in the moment. Actually, the first talk about, this is a great memory I have about getting out of the comfort zone. I was in New York City visiting because I lived in Los Angeles at the time when John Batiste hit me up and he said, hey, it was a text. He said, hey, Grace, I know you play the saxes, but tell me all the other instruments you play. Do you play clarinet and do you play baritone saxophone? Now, I hadn't touched a clarinet since 4th grade, and it like deeply scarred me. It's such a tough instrument.
He said that you probably play the clarinet. Yeah.
Oh, but like I really hadn't touched it since then, and I hadn't touched the baritone sax since 8th grade. But I wrote back to John and I said, like, yeah, I play clarinet because I do. I mean, like, I figured I'd be able to take it out and have some time practicing with it. And I was like, I've played Barry in the past. And he goes, great, what are you doing on Monday? It was Friday. And he said, can you come into the Late Show and play with us? And I was like, oh my God. Also, I didn't even have these instruments with me because I was visiting. I had one outfit with me. I was about to get on a plane back to LA. So I called up Yamaha and they said, this is fantastic. Don't worry. We're going to set you up with all the instruments. And suddenly I had a weekend to try to learn the clarinet, which is not, it's very different than sax. And I didn't know what music we were going to play.
Oh my God.
I was because I also said like, hey, what songs are we going to play? And then I heard nothing. And my buddy who's in the band said, just go through the YouTube clips and learn the theme song. And, John, he's like, it could be anything. And so I was trying to learn these instruments that I hadn't touched in literally like years. And I walked into the TV studio on Monday not knowing what I was going to play, what songs, what we were going to do. I didn't even know anything about how the structure of the production worked. And we had a 1 hour rehearsal, and we tried a bunch of different things, but still there was no solid, like, this is the set list. It was just kind of like, okay, cool, we'll figure it out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then the curtains are opening. There's like, 500 people. They're all screaming. Stephen Colbert runs out. We're doing our warm-up set. And then the first break into commercial, the camera starts to pan to the band, and I'm in in-ear monitors where we hear John, only the band hears John's voice, and he goes, Grace, pick up the clarinet, solo, get on the blacktop. I'm like, what is the blacktop?
What is the
I'm looking
blacktop?
at the band being like, what's the, and they point to this area like right in front of the piano, and I'm like, okay, that's the blacktop. And then the camera's like right in my face, and here I am like soloing on the clarinet being like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna just try to tame the beast and jump in. And it was incredibly terrifying. And I'm so grateful to have these experiences with John and the gang. And every day kind of felt like that, because he'd be like, today you're gonna play guitar. Today you're gonna play the theme song on piano. And it would always be like, a warning, maybe like right before the cameras were on, and I'm like, all right. And then the other thing about that is like, you have to look calm. I have to look calm, because out there to the audience and people watching, we're like hyping everyone up with the band. We got to look excited, and inside I am freaking out like a headless chicken, being like, what's coming next, and then we're like, waving and smiling.
If I were home right now and I were listening to this, that would inspire me, because what you're teaching is you got to move and you got to jump, and there are challenges, and you got to jump to the challenges, or you'll never. I can't imagine your weekend with that clarinet.
Oh my
I
god!
remember there was a weekend that I did with Sly Fox before our opening on Tuesday. And my Friday rehearsal was horrible, and I was a replacement. Was horrible, and I had to spend Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I don't know how I made it through that weekend. And so for you to, I understand the terror of that. But once you get through that, you just go, well, I got that.
Yeah.
I did that. And that's why he was a good teacher, because he got you out of your comfort zone, and you can't think.
Can't think.
You can't think.
Step up to the hot plate, and then the growth that I experienced after, like you're saying.
Absolutely.
It's like, wow, I didn't think that I could do this, or I would never imagine this would come up. I thought maybe he'd be asking me to do something like months later, and I'd have plenty of time to practice. I'd have plenty of time to, oh, no. It's like right now, it's today.
Right now.
Let's go.
I remember teaching in Los Angeles, where people would they would ask to leave the class early around 9 o'clock. I said, where are you going? He goes, well, I have an audition tomorrow. I went, are you prepared? And they went, yeah. I said, well, what are you going home for? He went, well, I have to prepare. I went, but you're prepared. And he went, yeah. I went, what are you going home for? And he went, well, and then what he was going home for was to worry, because that was part of it. And what I think Mr. Baptiste, is it Baptiste or Batiste?
Batiste.
What Mr. Baptiste was telling you is that there's no time. Let's hop to it and bring what you got. And so I think you got picked. I think he knew what he was dealing with, the genius of you. You've helped us so much today. I hope you had a good time.
The best time.
Do you have any advice for that little person who's just going in their scaredy chair going, well, I don't play the saxophone. I'm an actor. You have any pith? Pith? The pith?
Well, I think for all creatives.
We can cut this, by the way, if
okay.
you don't like it.
No, for all creatives.
No, I mean, it's quite a question I just asked you, and I'm sorry.
I think this very important thing that we're talking about of just get up and do it. I mean, literally
Nothing like
don't
it.
even listen to us finishing our sentence. Just go and do the thing you want to do. I think
Right.
we spend so much time, and I do this to myself a lot. Spend so much time worrying or thinking like, well, I'm not ready because I haven't gotten this and I haven't, taken, the steps to do that, and then it's probably going to be a failure. And but then people don't get started, and
No.
and the reality really is, and
I would say that again. People don't get what?
people don't get started.
People don't get started.
And
Which
what?
is your new song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, be written by 4 o'clock this
exactly.
afternoon.
And the other thing is remembering, like, it does not need to be perfect. Like,
Yay!
like throwing up your camera on your phone and doing a live stream for 2 people or 0 people, like you're at least doing it. You're
People,
starting.
I believe, are sitting in their chairs and they're waiting for the inspiration
Yes.
to walk across the room. And what I'm teaching, and what I know you're doing, is I'm trying to get people to slowly get up and walk across the room. It may take you an hour to get there, but waiting for the inspiration or waiting for that light to go on and the heavenly music, it's not going to happen.
Well,
But once you get across that thing and you're sitting in what do you call the black space?
blacktop.
The
Blacktop.
blacktop. Yep.
When you're sitting in the blacktop, the next time was easier.
Yeah,
And the next time after that was easier.
it was.
And the next time, and your playing got better, didn't it?
It did. And
Yeah.
my memory got better. And I learned things that I would have never learned without taking that step to that next part of the room.
Yeah.
I mean, I have an online series that I had developed
Do you
a
sleep?
couple years ago.
Do you sleep?
I have to get at least 8 hours. Otherwise,
you
I'm a
really?
wreck. Oh, yeah, I have to.
He doesn't like sleeping.
Really?
He's the only person I've ever met. He hates it.
Wow.
It's weird.
Oh, and I'm like a
It's
grumpy
uncomfortable.
mess if I don't. Interesting.
But I didn't mean to cut off, but I just wanted to say that if you can pick up an instrument, if anyone can relate with how many people played the clarinet in 4th grade, right? A lot of people. If you can get up and having not done that since 4th grade and then go do it on national TV, certainly you can get up and write that first draft. Certainly you can get up and make that phone call you need to make. Certainly you can do these other things. If you can, what, you're going to give me shit right now?
Did you just learn anything today?
Did I just learn anything?
Today?
Yeah, a little bit.
What'd you learn?
Wait, you're trying to get me to get off my butt? Is that what you're saying? Is that where you're at? Is that where you're going here?
He's a musician.
Musician.
What'd I say?
Sounded like musician.
I think I said musician.
Yeah, I'll take it.
He's a musician and hugely talented, and I'm trying to get him off his butt.
Look at that crazy.
No, don't do that.
But I might need a saxophone player.
All right.
Well, I can't afford Grace. But where can people come see you? And let me be more selfish about this. Where can I come see you? I live in the New York City area.
Oh, fabulous. Well, we often play in New York.
And wait, you have a band.
I have
She
a
has a
band,
band,
the
yeah.
Grace Kelly Band.
The Grace Kelly Band.
Just on my website, gracekellymusic.com is where all my tour dates are. So we're always bouncing all over. That's the best way to find me. bandsintown.com/Grace Kelly.
Or just call Kathy Schaefer.
Or just call Kathy, Mama Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's, so where are you playing next?
Oh,
town?
well, next to New York. Actually, I'm playing as a special guest at Birdland with a great gypsy jazz group later in November. I think it's November 12th, 11th or 12th. And then we'll do a show in the in the spring.
And what's your favorite room in the city?
Well, we recently played at Le Poisson Rouge, which I love.
Oh,
It's
yeah, that's
great.
a nice place.
And then we've played at Joe's Pub. It's a
Yeah.
great spot. So we'll probably be back at one of those.
And what's your dream gig?
My dream gig. Oh, my dream gig actually is just like out doing my performance, as a leader. Playing with my band, my music would be super cool to have some rockin' special guests ranging from, Sting to Bruno Mars to St. Vincent to, I have,
They all listen to this, so
yeah, I'd love to do an all-star, Grace and Friends
Well, that's nice. Grace and Friends.
night. That'd be cool.
It's very lovely.
I have, thanks. All right. Well, we gotta roll with that. I had,
No, I mean it has a nice. It has a real nice ring to it.
Grace and Friends?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw Miles Davis.
Live?
Mm.
Wow. Where?
San Francisco. I grew up in San Francisco.
Do you remember what the venue is?
Yeah, the Jazz Workshop,
Wow.
which was a very, very. There was the Hungry Eye Jazz Workshop, and Enrico. Hungry Eye was Enrico, and there was something, a blues something. My Miles Davis story was I went because I loved Miles Davis, and he came on stage, and as he and his band were playing, he on his solo would turn his back to the audience, and I was so disappointed.
Mm.
But then I later found out it was he just talking to he, getting that music out. Now, maybe that's true or maybe that's not true. Maybe that's a cover. I have no idea. But the other thing he did is after his solo, he would leave the stage.
And the band.
Yeah, and then he would come back when he was, and I went, well, what's that's about? It was a big lesson. And I think I saw Coltrane as well.
Wow.
Yeah, these guys would come out to San Francisco State. Anyway, we'll cut all that because that's about the most boring I've ever been. And we're going to congratulate you on your huge verve and talent and your grace. And it's been a true honor having you here. And you did exactly what we are trying to do with the show, which is get everybody kind of going, yeah, I can do that.
This is so.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to both of you for creating this and getting that message out.
Thanks.
It's really that's it's so huge.
Thank you.
I had one other thought that you can always cut it out, but on this note of getting up and doing, I think people should just pick one thing that they're scared to do, or actually make an exercise out of it. So I would say for some musicians, if you're nervous about getting your music out there and what people will say, or literally go to the New York City subways and set up shop and go and play, or just pick something and do it, because you'll feel so much better for just doing that thing, because fear is this very debilitating thing. And for me, a couple years ago, I started this online series called Grace Kelly Pop-Ups. And the idea was I wanted to take this concept of jazz, which some people think of it as a very cerebral thing and might not have, it doesn't necessarily have like a mainstream connection, or some people might think, oh, I'm not educated in jazz, I don't know how to listen to it. And my take on it is, there's all sorts of different jazz, and I want this to be fun, quirky, and for you to discover this music that hopefully will light up your heart. So I took my sax and went on a moving Ferris wheel and filmed that. I played on top of a car.
Oh, at Santa Monica.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
literally was in line with like 6-year-olds to get on the Ferris wheel. I didn't ask for permission ahead of time because, probably they're just going to say I can't. So I was like, I'm just going to wait in line like these 6-year-olds and wait my turn, and then we're going to film this. I got on top of cars. I played in a gondola in Venice, Italy. What's the most outrageous one? Oh, me and my friend crossed Times Square. We crossed the street on the 32nd, pedestrian walk sign, dancing and playing and just whatever we just did.
That's wonderful.
And
I'm so glad you put that in, and no, we will not cut that, because that's the essence of the whole thing.
But a lot of it was terrifying. Like, the reason why I created the series was because I had fear about these things. And so I was like, I'm going to do them to explore this feeling and this fear. And what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
I'm going to get kicked out. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have a friend teacher, and I'm writing a book right now. And I said, I'm really, really nervous about writing this book. And he said, oh, well, do it afraid. That's very wise.
That is so.
And so we almost called this show "Do It Afraid."
Oh wow.
Because that's what we're saying, and that's what you just said. You're very wise, and I'm sure anybody who gets to listen to you, is getting all of that. But not only that, I can tell you're an excellent teacher. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start studying the saxophone.
Oh, I'll teach you.
Shit.
Maybe I'll just take my son's saxophone. He'll never know where it is, and I'll say, I don't know. Where'd you leave it?
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That won't be damaging or traumatic at all.
And we'll make an
No.
album together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll make an album.
There you
Right
go.
here on the podcast.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It'll be called
We have the
Everything Bagel.
technology. Everything
Everything Bagel.
bagel.
Everything Bagel.
Oh wow, I love
That
it.
should be the name of our production
Name of our
company.
band.
Yeah.
Everything Bagel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much.
What an honor.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
What an honor.
Thank you.
And
It's
and just so you know,
almost
I
a
wasn't
sin
lying.
that you're putting on this music.
The music's very nice.
Well,
Wow, I gotta look.
Look it up
Yeah.
and think about it the next time.
How about that? You've just
you
shifted my
always
whole
have
perception.
to be right, don't you?
That's my
At the
wife.
end of
I-
every podcast, I'm right and you're
I
wrong.
was right before we started the podcast.